Peace and assalamu alaikum. This is Brother Bilal back again. Black Muslim in America. Thank you for tuning in as usual. Hope you all are having a good week. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And don't forget to share this. This is what I like to do amongst many things that I like to do. And I do this for the sake of Allah. And I do this for the sake of my people as well. You know. I'm starting to think we are reaching herd immunity of this, and this is what I'm going to call it throughout this video, throughout this visual audio, that I give. I'm going to be calling it 19. So you know what I'm talking about when I say 19, okay? And the reason I'm doing that is because, you got YouTube out here. You have them going through people's videos, and if you start talking too much about 19, then they want to delete your page or mess with your stream. So you have to be careful about how you're talking about things. But I'm starting to think we've reached herd immunity with this virus. I'm also believing that from the beginning, that if you were healthy, at a good weight, good diet, etc., during the time you heard about this, this virus, and you kept your immune system strong, you either won't get it, or if you do, it won't be as severe. And my evidence for that was just looking at these NBA players. So like a few of them got very sick, but most of them who allegedly got it, they just had minor symptoms or no symptoms at all. And like I said before a while ago, this virus is being used for many different purposes. And if you stayed in tune with the news lately, it came out, it was stories of how you had people who, if you had the virus and you got better, then you've built up some immunity to the disease, or you won't catch it again, and if you do, it won't be as severe. They had some real life experiment on a boat. And I'm reading this from the Medical Express website. I'll post the links in the blog, and I'll try to post them under the description as well. But it's entitled, on August 18th, it's entitled "Fishing Boat Outbreak May Offer Virus Immunity Insight." It's a study. And it's talking about how these people were on a boat. Some of them had the virus and others didn't. But some of those who were also on the boat, they recovered from the virus. And when they were out there with all these other people who did have it, they didn't even catch it. So they're wondering if you build up immunity to it, if you build up neutralizing antibodies to protect from the virus. And they're surmising from all of this that people have pretty much like 3 months of immunity. I don't know how they calculated that, but if you go through the article and read it, they start talking about it and all of that good stuff. But basically, people are building up antibodies to this virus. This is letting me know that herd immunity has either occurred or we are very close. Even in a recent article, they were saying how someone who was infected, they got reinfected. That the doctors was like, in most cases, you won't be reinfected. And as I said before, or if you are, it won't be as severe. And that article about that was in Yahoo News. I'll post that link in the description as well. That's a very interesting read. Because in that article, we didn't hear anything about this person who got reinfected. We didn't hear anything about their diet, their age, their weight, their fitness level, how well they took care of their immune system, things of that nature. And both of these researches were not peer reviewed, so there could still be speculation. But when you add this in with the total worldwide deaths, it makes sense. Like the worldwide deaths seem kind of high, but they're not really that high when you compare it to the cases. Alleged cases. And because the worldwide deaths aren't really that high. And to give some context, they say the flu kills up to like 646,000 a year worldwide. And notice, we didn't hear anything about a flu season this year. It's all been about the 19. It's all been about that virus this season. That's all we've heard about. So a lot. Excuse my cat in the background. He's out there meowing at somebody. But so a lot of these 19 numbers could just be flu numbers as well. And we already knew that the virus numbers were being cooked, were being manipulated anyway. Like, if you die from a damn car crash and had the 19, then they were saying it's a virus death. That's what they were saying. They were gonna mark it up as a virus death. And they had articles coming out talking about how they were, they were getting paid to write things down as a death of the virus. And again, they were saying how many of these 19 deaths, these virus deaths, many of these case numbers were cooked too. Because remember, many hospitals were being thrown extra funds if they said someone had the virus and if they could get them on a ventilator and all of that stuff. And so recently, the CDC has let us know that of the total deaths in America from allegedly from this virus, only 6% of them died from purely the virus alone. Others had, two or more underlying health conditions or issues that the virus complicated or made worse. Which goes back to one of my first statements that I think if you take care of your health and fitness as well as do things that boost your immune system as best you can, you should be fine. But most people in America aren't in good shape, and most don't regularly take care of their immune systems. But even with that, it hasn't been many deaths. So that tells me again, my favorite word of herd immunity has been reached to some degree. And there's a guy named Scott Atlas who's now working for the Trump administration. He's trying to push the idea of us reaching herd immunity. He wants to try that out. He's coined himself as an anti-Fauci type person. And I don't rock with the Trump crew, but if you're anti-Fauci, I might rock with you a little bit on that point, because I don't like Fauci either. He's also a neuroradiologist, and I kind of like this idea, even though it's risky. But hey, we already been months without masks, so it is what it is. In this, it was an article in the Washington Post that he basically talks about what he wants to do. He talks about lessening the restrictions while protecting the vulnerable, like old folks' homes. And like I said, I'll post that in the description as well. And what's interesting, though, they say black people are disproportionately affected, but I don't see any particular quote-unquote protections being mentioned for us, by the way. But anyway, they say this this herd immunity approach has been tried in Sweden with bad results. But, I mean, in my opinion, you can't stop a virus. You can't stop the flu virus. You can only hope to contain it, or you can only hope to boost your immune system so that you won't get sick or get as sick. That's really the only thing you can do. Every year the flu comes around, and some build up immunity to it, to the point that even if they do get it, they won't get as sick. And others have weaker immune systems, weaker diets, weaker fitness, whatever you want to call it. And they get very sick, and some sadly die. So this is what's going to happen with flus and viruses. You can't you can't destroy your whole economy and destroy your whole society because of a virus. And I understand that what you're claiming is doing, but it's really, I don't think it's as bad as they're making it out to be. When you take into account that many of these numbers are cooked, and basically the CDC is letting you know Because it was another article that came out. I saw it on Twitter. The CDC came out and basically said, "Look, yeah, okay, only 6% of people actually died from it, but we're not going to change the numbers around. We're going to keep pushing that more people died from it than it really did. Okay, we're going to keep lying to you. Basically, that's what they're saying. So it's not as bad. I think the 19 stuff is real, but I don't think it's as bad as they say it is, man. I just don't. That don't mean I can't get it. So I don't want to sit up here and say, "Oh man, that stuff ain't real," and then I start coughing and wheezing. Nah, I ain't gonna say that. May Allah protect me from it, and protect everybody else from it. But I don't think it's as bad as they're saying it is. And as I believe this was a punishment from Allah, whether it was made in a lab or sent from nowhere by the permission of Allah, I think it was meant to attack people in the dominant society and other melanin lacking people, because amongst them there are many white supremacists and those who subscribe to its belief. And no, not every white person is a white supremacist, but we also have to be honest that many are complicit in white supremacy, and if they're even if they're not direct white supremacists. And amongst those who are not white supremacists and are quote unquote allies, Allah tells you in the Quran in Surah 8 verse 25, chapter 8 verse 25, Allah says, "And fear the fitna, the affliction, the trial, the punishment, which affects not in particular only those of you who do wrong, but it may afflict all the good and the bad people. And know that Allah is severe in punishment." Allah also says, and I bring this verse up many times before, Allah also says in chapter 30 verse 41 that evil and corruption has appeared on the land and sea because of what the hands of men have earned. So because of what their hands of the white supremacists have put out, the punishment has come. And sadly, some good people will have to suffer. The rest of us, we got drug into this bull crap because they wanted us to be a part of their punishment. They wanted us to be a part of their punishment. And they wanted us to panic like they were and are. Because remember, this virus was eating them up and still is. Even though they try to say we are disproportionately affected, they the ones getting it the most. And since we're around them, we will be affected with it as well. But this is being used to bring in some type of mark of the beast type stuff with these vaccines. And I've been making a lot of dua about these vaccines coming out, and just asking Allah for us not to have to be forced to take these. And if we are, then give us a way out in some way, whatever that way may be. I've heard that one of the ways a type of drug can't be forced on people is if there are other forms of treatment for the virus or whatever that they're trying to give the drug for. And this is why I believe they are silencing voices who are telling us natural ways to counteract this virus and to build up the immune system. This is why you can't say that name too much in your videos, because your videos may get flagged or taken down. Also, every time Trump or somebody says there's an alternative like that, how do you pronounce it? Hydrochloroquine or something like that. Like whenever they talk about some other alternative to this 19, and more recently they came out and talked about the, I think it's called convalescent or convalescent plasma transplant, which I didn't even know existed till I heard it. You can go ahead and Google that. But whenever these little alternatives are being thrown out there, they're immediately shot down and told, no, they don't work, they don't work. And they're firing people in the government who are even saying to push such alternatives. We can see it's a concerted effort to only have these vaccines be the only solution. And it kind of makes you wonder what the hell is inside these things. And sadly, my brother, he sent me a link earlier this week about how the health commissioner of Virginia said you know, he'll mandate a vaccine when it comes. And this was I'll put the link inside the description as well for that. But on the other hand, the governor came out afterwards and said, nah, we don't have those plans. But what it seems like to me is it seems like the governor's coming out and checking the health commissioner and saying, no, 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 not yet, not yet. Don't, you're playing your cards too soon. And so the governor's coming out and trying to say, nah, we didn't have no plans of that. We have no plans of that. But listen to what he's saying. We have no plans of that. It's like the same thing when I ask supervisors certain questions. I'll be like, so are we going to be having to be forced these vaccines in order to still work at such places? And the supervisors or managers will say, well, we don't have plans of it. What does that mean? It's not a straight up no. It's a thing of, well, plans change. Plans can change. That's what it's a thing of. And just recently, the CDC told states to be ready to distribute vaccines like around late October, November 1st. So, it's coming. And I want to read a little bit of this article if I can. And this is in ABC News. I'll also put the link in the description. I probably won't put a title next to the links. I'll just post them in the order that I'm talking about them within this audio visual, within this little broadcast I'm doing. I'll probably put them in the order that I'm talking about them, so you can just click on them as you're listening. But in this article by ABC News, it says, the federal government has told states to prepare for a coronavirus vaccine to be ready to distribute by November 1st. The timeline raised concern among public health experts about an October surprise. A vaccine approval driven by political considerations ahead of a presidential election rather than science. And this is partly true too. This whole vaccination stuff is being pushed for political reasons as well. Because if the prez now, if he can get a vaccine pumping while he's still the prez, he could be like, see what I did there? This is why you should reelect me. So it's a real push coming to it. They're not really concerned about science. It's about politics and it's about economics. Because they want the economy to really open back up. And that's all they're worried about. This could all well just be some placebo drug for all we know. And we're just allowing them to just inject a placebo drug into us. So who knows what's in these things. But it's about getting the economy going as well. If he can say, yes, I got the economy back going while I was still president, then that's going to be another feather in his hat that he can use to get reelected. So it's a whole political and economic move. And the article goes on to say, in a letter to governors dated August 27th, Robert Redfield, director of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, said states in the near future will receive permit applications from McKesson Corp. If anyone's listening, you should do research on the McKesson Corp. I don't really know who they are, but that's probably something that you want to look into. And the McKesson Corp has contracted with CDC to distribute these vaccines to places including states and local health departments and hospitals. And there's a quote by Redfield. He wrote, CDC urgently requests your assistance in expediting applications for these distribution facilities, and if necessary, ask you to consider waiving requirements that would prevent these facilities from becoming fully operational by November 1st, 2020. So they try to get this up and going. They said bump the requirements. We gonna waive some applications. We gonna get them going through. We need to get this stuff popping now. He wrote that any waivers will not compromise the safety or effectiveness of the vaccine. Why? Because you say so? Hold up. Matter of fact, it was just an article that came out. I don't know if it's gonna be in the I'm not probably not gonna put this in the description because this is just off the top of my head. There was just an article that came out. Please Google this. And my brother sent me this as well. There was just an article that came out that said shipping these vaccines is going to be a problem because they have to stay cold. They have to stay at a certain temperature, and it's hard to keep them at that temperature while they're being shipped out. So they're saying that can become a problem for them to stay quote unquote effective. Even if they are, they have to remain a certain temperature. So what? So how does he know that these waivers won't compromise the safety or effectiveness of it? And so as you go down on this article, it's an interesting paragraph. It says here, because I was talking to some people and I'm like, how is, because I asked them, I said, don't certain vaccines, the ones that they give out in mass, don't they have to be FDA approved? And they were like, yeah, they do. And so I'm like, I asked the question, I said, okay, so how are these 19 vaccines that they're trying to push out that hasn't even been tested for a year? Remember, this stuff started in March, February, March. They didn't even have a vaccine yet. It went on for about two months, 3 months, and then they started talking about a vaccine. So it hasn't even been. It's been like 6 or 7 months. So it's been almost close to half a year. Almost close to half of a year. And now you're trying to push out a vaccine? It hasn't even been a year. Think about that. How is the FDA going to approve that? But it says in this article, it also states that initially available vaccines will either be approved by the FDA or authorized by the agency under its emergency powers. So this is how they're going to play with our minds. This is how they're going to do the "I'm white and I say so" rule in this regard. Now the FDA said they may not approve it, but they will authorize it under an emergency act. So what they're saying is we can't really approve this vaccine, people, but we're just going to authorize it because, excuse me, there's something in the background. We're just going to authorize it because, it's an emergency, quote unquote. Who are these people working for? The documents encourage health officials to work out now which groups to prioritize for a vaccine. So this is about us right here. And it also identify providers who will administer vaccine and take other steps to prepare. Redfield told Yahoo Finance that officials were preparing for what I anticipate will be reality. Is there will be one or more vaccines available for us in November, December. James Blumenstock, a senior vice president at the Association of State and Territorial Health Officials, said the CDC was offering an aggressive but necessary timetable and that public health agencies were mobilizing to prepare detailed plans. They're mobilizing on how to put this in us. And now this is where it gets interesting, because as you read down more, then it starts talking about how, this is the article saying this, several public health experts pointed out that final stage trials of experimental vaccines are still recruiting and are at best halfway through that process. The vaccines are 2 doses and each is given a month apart. The expert told the AP they did not understand how there could be adequate data on whether the vaccines work and are safe before November 1st. And this is what I'm saying. You already had Fauci talking about we can hope to be lucky that these vaccines will be at least 50% effective. So they may not even be that. Then you haven't even had a full year of testing when you need even more than that. And now you have even these health experts talking about how there's not enough adequate data on whether these vaccines work or are safe. So this is some dangerous stuff going on. We don't know what they're trying to put in us, and we're supposed to just go along with it. And so, to round this article all the way out, they put this here at the towards the end of the article. They say, regarding the timing of the CDC request to expedite or waive permits for distribution centers to open November 1st, one of the experts said, I can't tell you about the political motivations on that. So they're letting you know what it is at the end of this article. And, this just leads me to another speculation I have, is that this 19, along with other things that's going to be used, it's all about bringing about some type of civil unrest, some type of civil war, which will be an open but can't deny it type of racial war. You already have many Americans who don't want this vaccine, and they are refusing to take it on both sides. And if you have these states start mandating it, that's going to become a boiling pot. On top of that, the government has allowed many states to do mail-in ballots because of this whole 19 situation, which I think was allowed for the purposes of the Democrats and even Republicans, but more so for the Democrats to be able to forge many mail-in votes in their favor. And the Republicans see this, so, they're locking off mailboxes, which is wild in and of itself. But it lets you know there's a lot of animosity brewing. Black people are already being set up for the blame if Trump wins again, because we are refusing to vote because of no tangibles. So they're gonna blame us. And the first people they want to take these vaccines are black people. Well, that's what Bill Gates' wife said after mentioning healthcare workers. Just recently, some black participant in Moderna's 19 vax trials came out telling black people to, quote unquote, trust the vaccine. Negroes say what? Boy, if you don't get your... it's some black folk who just love being experimented on. It sounds wild and weird, but it's just true. They get paid, they get attention, they get care, and a pat on the head. They love it. Yeah, they trust white supremacy mommy and daddy, y'all. Like, come on, get the hell out of here. Come on, Sophia. That's her name in this article. Of course they use a black woman. You got to get that divide going. And she's a PhD student of biomedical engineering. So they tried to give her, a title. So she says she was geeked. Of course she was. Like I said, certain people love this type of stuff. But let's go on and read a little bit of this article. And this article will be in the description as well. This one is from the ABC News. And it goes to say, Sophia Upshaw was one of 2 black participants in Moderna's first 45-person 19 vax trial. Now Upshaw is sharing her experience and has a message for the black community. So they chose her to tell us what to do. The vaccine is safe. Here she go. I was scared at first for my health and for exposing myself to something that hasn't been tested in humans before, she said. I was technically patient number 10. And, she's from Atlanta. As her hometown Atlanta was being hit hard by the virus, Upshaw decided to participate in Moderna's first vaccination trial at Emory University on March 16th. As a PhD student of biomedical engineering there, she was excited to be a part of scientific history. And so basically she wants to get into this because not only, like I mentioned to you, some black people just love being experimented on by these white corporations. She's just excited about biomedical engineering, and she just wants to be a lab rat. She's just excited about the science of it, and she wants to be a lab rat. She wants to help out white supremacy science. That's what it is. And what's interesting, in the next few paragraphs down, it talks about how Moderna, an American pharmaceutical company, is one of the front runners in the race for a COVID-19 vaccine. The current phase 3 trial is slated to enroll 30,000 people. However, only about 1% of Moderna's study is comprised of black or Hispanic volunteers. 19% are black or Hispanic. And they say we're 13% of the population. So just keep that in mind. That's why they mentioned however. And 4% are about Asian. But they put that in your mind right now. And so they go on to say it's not enough, according to health officials. I would like to see a percent enrollment commensurate with the percent represented in society. What are you talking about? This is what Dr. Fauci said. He said about 40% of the nation is non-white, according to the most recent census data. So he wants, what does he want? He wants it to be 40% for non-white people? He goes on to say, optimally, although it might be difficult to attain, I would like to see a number somewhat greater than this in approaching the percentage of disease, said Fauci, who explained that minority groups struck by the pandemic should ideally be overrepresented in vaccine trials to ensure one works in those who may need it the most. So now we're being the lab rats. So now he wants, so me saying that they want to give this to us first isn't some conspiracy theory. We're seeing that it's becoming a conspiracy fact over time. You want us to be the basically 40% of these people. That's what you want. You want mostly black people in that. And so this is why they have this lady, Sophia Upshaw, presenting this to us. And so it goes on to say, as a scientist, Upshaw knew the importance of vaccines to create preventative health measures. But as a black woman, here we go, it held personal importance. Black Americans continue to fight two pandemics, racism and the 19, but the race toward a vaccine connects them. Who are you to say this? While the 19 decimates the black, listen to that word they use, decimates the black community. Are you serious? No, it's not decimating the black community. It's decimating your community. But let's go on. It says, while the 19 decimates the black community, the nation's history of non-consensual medical experimentation on black Americans has instilled wide mistrust of the vaccine. Of course it has. So now they're going to go into this article and talk about how, well, now you should trust us. Basically, is what they're doing in this article. Well, now you should trust us, and we got this nigga girl that we throwing out at you, and trust her too, because she's black like you, so now you should trust us. And they got this picture up here of Sophia Upshaw with somebody else, and they got the other person's face blurred out. Who is this other person? But they're gonna show hers. And so they're gonna use her to try to sway the whole black nation. She's the token blackie, and that's why you got to be careful. Why are they picking you to represent all black people on ABC News? Why are they doing that? And so here it comes. Upshaw is keenly aware of this conundrum. She hopes her positive experience in Moderna study will offer the black community a relatable perspective, potentially encouraging others to volunteer for a trial. So she's here to make us volunteer for this trial. She's here to make us step up, not only to have it forced upon us, but to be the guinea pigs. Because once they see, if she can get enough people to be the guinea pigs for it, get enough black people to be the guinea pigs for it, then that means to them that, well, then they must want it too. So we should definitely give it to them first now and mandate it. And that's how they're going to cover their racism. They're going to say, the most affected. We're doing this out of care. It's the most affected. So this is very dangerous. And listen to how she talks here. Honestly, they have a valid reason not to trust the medical community because of its horrible past, like the Tuskegee trials, Hella cells, said Upshaw. You know, like Hella cells. What she's talking about is Henrietta Lacks. How come you won't even see? You see what she's doing? This is how you know she's a puppet of theirs. They done picked her out, and she done proved to be a good little puppy, and so they're gonna use her. Listen to what she says. Honestly, they have a valid reason. So who are you? Are you not black? Are you not with they? So who are you? You're saying you're on the side of white science. That's what you're on the side of. That's why you say they. I'm not a part of them. I believe in y'all. So she's saying even though they had this Henrietta Lacks cells that they still use to this day, and they had these Tuskegee trials. Hey, no, I'm with them. We need to be with y'all. Nah, I'm with y'all, white science daddy. I'm not with them. They have a valid reason. I don't have no reason. That's what this is saying. So she was referring to two infamous case studies of unethical scientific experiments in which researchers did not obtain consent from black patients. Now they're trying to make it seem like it was only two bad experiments in the history of white supremacy that these white supremacists did to us. We can go back from the beginning of slavery all the way up past that. They've been doing these crazy experiments on us. So don't try to act like these are the only two. The article goes on to say, these historical injustices inspired massive reform in the medical industry today. Massive reform, what does that mean? That means we just gave them more money to find slicker ways to harm you Negroes. That's all that means. Including implementing safety regulations and mandatory ethical reviews of scientific studies. Well, if that's the case, then why do we still have problems in the medical field for black people? Why is it that an article just came out, you can Google this, that said black patients who are having children, when they go to a black doctor, they're more successful in their pregnancies and giving births and not having complications as much when they go to black doctors as opposed to other doctors? Why is it still going on then if you did all this massive reform? Still, and the article goes on to say, still, said Upshaw, it's going to take a long time to repair that damaged trust between the two communities. This is an opportunity to repair that damage and build up some trust. I'm hoping my story will inspire black people to take the vaccine when it comes out. Wow. So we need to now, after all of these years of them doing certain things to black people, we need to now all of a sudden, trust them with some vaccine that we don't know what the hell's going on with and that you're trying to rush through to force on us. We should help them in that. That doesn't make sense. So they go on talking about, all of that bull crap. But this is here, like I said at the beginning of this article, they're trying to come with that gender divide and they're trying to use a black woman against us. And here she goes. Later on down in the article, Upshaw, as a scientist herself, Upshaw is dismayed to see the way black celebrities like musician Trey Songz have used their influence to discourage their followers from taking the vaccine. For Upshaw, Song's Instagram post was the last straw that inspired her to speak out about her experience. So once again, they're using the black woman to attack the black man. This is how you know she's a tool that they're using. She's just some tool, because real black women, real foundational black American women, real black women period, is not going to be out here crapping on black men for the ABC News. They're not going to be doing that. She says, it's discouraging to see a lot of black people who look like me pre-declare that they won't get the vaccine when it comes out. She said, it discourages me because our people are being disproportionately affected by it. She's doing the talking points. They gave you the cue cards. We're not buying that. And Songz did not respond. You damn right he didn't respond. Well, you're trying to throw black men under the bus. That's what that was. And they say, but her message is simple. Vaccines are safe. Which one? This one? We don't know that. See, you're trying to use general to talk about something specific. She hopes people that look like her will trust her experience and the science behind the 19 vax. The science and the white and those suspected white supremacists behind the 19 vax. That's what that is. And so this Upshaw chick, she ends the article by saying, I want people to know that if they can't trust the government, that's all right, Upshaw said, but please trust science. Who is this person? Who are you? Where are you from? Where are your parents from? We don't know you. She's in this article talking about how she's an influencer. I ain't never seen your TikTok. If we can't trust the government, that's all right. But please, trust the science. Who runs the science? Who's running the science right now? So, I mean, 2 plus 2 is 4 people. We see what this is. So it's obvious we are the ones being targeted and are being set up on all sides. They trying to get us with this, germ chemical warfare with this 19 stuff, and now they setting us up. Now they setting up to massacre us on the military side. You see, they realize what's happening, and now they are getting their white supremacist militias in place. This is what's going on now in the media. They are setting up their white militias, and these will replace the police, which have already been infiltrated by white supremacists as well. So, irregardless, and I'm using that word, I don't care. But this is what's going down now in the media. They're setting up their white militias, and they will replace the police. They on some you want to defund the police? Okay, well hey, that's fine. We got some good old boys that will handle you on a low low. Just recently, some car plowed into a Black Lives Matter protest. I think it was out in New York, and the police acting like they don't know who did it. Oh, if you're the driver of the car, please come forward. If you've been injured, please come forward. And people, and then they're putting out there, but it wasn't the police. The police didn't drive that car into the crowd. But then they have videos of the police escorting this vehicle and trying to tell it to get away before that vehicle went and plowed into the crowd of people. So it seems like they're working together. I believe the people on the ground more than I believe the police. So I think that was the police. And if it wasn't directly police, it was somebody working with police like these militias. So they're on some, you wanted to fund the police. Well, okay, that's fine. We got our little homies on the low who can handle you. So now, instead of a race soldier on the police force killing you, and then possibly the state having to pay your family off and all of that stuff, now they can have their deputized white supremacists in these militias or other deputized white supremacists do the killing, and at most they'll get some jail time, and then they'll probably get off in a year or two on the low. But they are going to work to get them off as best they can. So if they do put them in jail, they're going to try their best to get them out of there. And the shootings have been ramped up recently. Even white Hispanic race soldiers getting involved, they have to show they are down too. Everybody has to show they're down with white supremacy because the turn up on the foundation of Black Americans has started. Even with these immigrant, the coons of the immigrant people, because not all immigrants are like this, but there's a lot of coons that come over here, and even they're siding with white supremacy. So we know what's going on. Everybody's siding with white supremacy against us because they're scared. We're the only ones standing up against it. And this is very dangerous for us. How are we to trust the police when they are working with and protecting these white supremacists as well as shooting us? And we find out more and more every day of these different white supremacist gangs inside of the police force. These are nothing, this is Satanism, like I said before. These are Satanists. We get the brunt of the punishment. Because if a black man defends himself against a race soldier, rightfully so, even if he's posing as a police officer, this black person now has the whole blue wall. He has all of white supremacist society ready to fall onto him. Now, alhamdulillah, we have those in the black media who are doing and will continue to do what they can to help people with lawyers and things of that nature. But we need to do more as well. We need to give more as well. And this is where the celebs come in at. This is where the celebrities can come in at. And like I said, don't trust these celebs. Put your money where your mouth is. It's cool that they had these postponements of the games. Even in the MLB, they had postponement of a few games. That was cool. It was cool how some commentators walked off set. That was cool. But we need more than symbolism. Right now in today's day and age is the perfect time to protest. It's not dangerous. So y'all postponing a game, kneeling for the anthem, that's not really doing nothing now. It looks good, that's cool, but it's not really doing nothing. Y'all should have been doing that back in 2013, 2014 when Kaepernick was doing it and he was getting blackballed. That's when y'all should have been doing it. That's when it was dangerous. But now it's cool, it's chic, it's sexy to protest, and it makes you look edgy. So now you have these corporations encouraging their players to do this to make them look good, and they want to look like they're down with the struggle, and they got to keep that money coming in. So that's why these corporations are actually promoting their people to protest, and that's a good thing too, because it shows that people on the ground, the black people on the ground, the grassroots movement have made a difference and still are making a difference. You have controlled the narrative so much so now that these corporations, even if they're faking it, they have to do this now. But at the same time, like I said, we need more than symbolism. We need these celebs to put their money where their mouth is. We don't even need y'all to speak up for us, really. If you do, that's what's up. But make sure you say the right thing. Don't say no dumb stuff. But if you don't, then as long as you're supporting the movement, then that's what we need from you. And if you don't speak, and if you are going to speak, making sure it's the right thing. And if you don't know what to say, keep your mouth shut. Other than that, don't speak against the people. Let us do what we do. And don't speak against us. Don't talk down to us. We don't want to hear no scared talk either. You got LeBron James coming out here talking about he's scared. We don't want to hear none of that. Even if you are scared, you don't put that out into the ethos right now. Not in the situation we're in. That's going to make the white supremacists salivate. That's what it is. You're dangling steak in front of white supremacist wolves when you start talking about you're scared. All these millions these celebrities have, and entertainers and sports players have, you should be funding the black media. You should be funding black lawyers and black law firms that aren't coons, that aren't trying to just chase after ambulances like certain lawyers out there that we know about, who always show up when a black person get killed, and they always telling the families to say forgive, and all of that dumb stuff. No, you need to be putting your money where your mouth is. Support the black media so that, we can build our own media apparatus outside of YouTube. Support these black law firms and black institutions that can help people when they do get arrested for protecting themselves from race soldiers or any other thing that's going on. This is what we need. We should have been had our own platform, honestly. I think Rizza Islam, I think he's starting a platform. I saw a post about his on YouTube the other day. So that's good. That's a good start. But we don't need these people like the Benjamin Crumps coming around trying to feed off our blood. We need upstanding black people who gonna fight and call out white supremacy. And now you have black militias trying to form. And I'm kind of in between on that, because doing this and being open about it, just being open about it, marching around with your guns, like Scam Master Jay, just know you will be infiltrated by agents if the leader of that group isn't an agent already. You're going to have police and agents all up in your mix because you doing yourself publicly. White supremacists play both sides of the fence. So, yeah, they're quote unquote investigating these white militias, and they have agents all in them. But at the same time, the police are supporting and protecting them. And most of these white militias, most of them are white supremacist militias, if we're just being honest. So they will assume the same when they see black folks start forming their own militias publicly. They're going to say, oh, you guys are black supremacists. Because it's automatic logic, because in their minds, they're like, well, we're white supremacists and we got our militia. So now that you're forming, you guys must be black supremacists. Even though there's no such thing, But that is what will register in their minds. Just like they're afraid of us doing to them what they did to us, it's similar. Oh, we started these militias to keep these Negroes in line. You know, we're activating our militias as per our white supremacist codes because these Negroes are getting too uppity. So when they see black people forming like Voltron out in public, they gonna think the same. So when you got black militias talking all that rah-rah, it's clear agent stuff going on somewhere up in there. We've seen this with the Black Panthers. We've seen this before. See, black folk like to show off and be like, see, we could do what the white folk do too. But sometimes that just isn't the right move. These white militias and other white supremacist operatives understand, like the prophet, peace be upon him, said, that war is deception. So you have some militias saying, oh, we're not racist. We just want to protect you guys. We're anti-government. We believe in Black Lives Matter. But really, they just getting intel on you and softening your guard. So, you know, you'll let your guard down and they can infiltrate you even more. So y'all going out to these protests with just cardboard placards. I don't know if you want to do that. I don't know if that's just a safe thing to do. Matter of fact, be careful out here at these protests because these militias who say they're on your side, they're also out there taking pictures of protesters and giving them to agents or police officers so they can come snatch you up later. There's been videos out there of people who were at protests or random black people on the street. All of a sudden, unmarked cars pull up or police vans pull up and just snatch them off the street. And nobody knows what's going on. Many reports of that. So be careful out there. On the political side, we're being ignored. And this is why, like I said, the Democrats want to desperately win. Because they want to ignore when the heat really starts turning up on us. They want to really do their benign neglect. So, they're setting us up on all sides. And so they want to win so they can ignore us politically. Ignore our voices. They already are doing it anyway. And turn a blind eye to the turn up of the massacre. This is why you see these gender divide wars. This is why you got Meg getting shot allegedly by Tory. And at first she was going to throw black men under the bus with some whole, black women are just so unprotected by black men. And it didn't work because black people on Twitter checked that real quick. So then they came out with the WAP song to use that as a proxy to throw black men under the bus because they knew righteous men were going to stand up and say, hey, what the hell is going on with this? This is not the time for this right now. So they were going to use that as a proxy because they knew we would react and then they could throw us under the bus. Then she came out after that song came out and was popping. Then she came out later and said, oh yeah, Tory actually did shoot her. And black men is like, look, you didn't deserve to get shot at all. You didn't. But also, you need to watch who you hang around. You talking all this stuff in your songs about how you're a boss and you hang with boss dudes. Boss dudes ain't shooting girls because they got into an argument with them. They'll just leave you alone. That's what alpha men do. They're not about to put their hands on you. They're not about to put no bullets in you. They just gonna stop talking to you. So that shows that you don't know how to choose proper males to be around. That's what that's showing. That don't mean you deserve to get shot, but you have to take some accountability. And so when men started telling Meg that she had to take some accountability for this situation, then that's another way they threw black men under the bus. And you have now on Twitter, you have the divest Twitter, these black women talking about how other black women should divest and stop dating and marrying black men and go off and marry Asian and white men. You have that narrative going on as well, calling black men the weakest link, when in actuality, we are the last stronghold against white supremacy and its minions. But this is what you have going on. And when these politicians like Kamala Harris are asked specifically about black men, they go on some tangent about how they need to earn all men's votes and how they're doing some bill or trying to pass some law or program for all men. And it should eventually trickle down to you niggas. So yeah, that's how we're going to benefit you niggas. Yeah. That's what your girl Kamami Harris did in her interview. And if you go look up that little interview at that little snippet part, it's floating around on Twitter. I'm sure it's on YouTube too. When she's answering that question and he asked specifically about black men, shout out to him because he asked a pertinent question. He asked specifically about black men. He said, what are you doing for black men to make them want to come out and vote for you? And then she just immediately started with some, well, we have to earn all votes. What we talking about is she goes into this whole tangent, basically doing some watch the rabbit type stuff, like watch the birdie. I'm a move it around. She started talking about all men, and if we do something for all men, it'll benefit black men. And the interviewer is sitting there looking at her like, are you serious right now? Like if you look at that video, it'll make you laugh because he's sitting up there with the gas face, like, you did not answer my question. So they know Trump being in office is getting black people on code, and black people are seeing the blatant white supremacy, so we can't deny it. And by the way, I want to say a big middle finger to Joy Reid. She's always been a loser, whether it's throwing black people under the bus or now recently she came out talking about how Trump radicalizes his followers like Muslims do. You know, I could see if you said terrorist groups, Trump is radicalizing his followers like terrorist groups do, but then your dog whistle wouldn't work properly. You see, that's what that was. That was a dog whistle. We know when you say Muslims, it means non-white. It means black. It means those people who aren't white. And when you try to use it in that context, you're talking about religious non-whites who don't want to submit to white supremacy. So what she's really codedly saying is Trump is radicalizing these black people too. That's what she's basically saying. Because we're the only people who will not just bow down to white supremacy. You know, even amongst the Muslims, the black Muslims are the only ones who are really fighting against white supremacy, even inside of Islam. Even within the Muslim community, you don't hear other people really talking about it and standing up against it. So, and Allah has already told you about people like her. And in chapter 3, verse 118, Allah says, hatred has already appeared from their mouths, and what their hearts hide for you is even worse. And what their hearts hide for you is death. So she's one of those immigrant coons who's on the side of white supremacy. And that's what I see going on with these shootings of black men. You know, it's basically, you niggas better get in line and vote, or we're just going to turn up anyway. Which is why when I see celebs like LeBron James wearing vote or die t-shirts, first off, that lets me know, dude, you didn't even really read that autobiography of Malcolm X. Because there's no way you're going to be wearing a vote or die t-shirt after reading an autobiography of Malcolm X unless you just totally don't agree with what he was talking about. And second, when I see that vote or die, I take that as a threat. That's a threat. Not as a thing of like on some symbolic stuff, like if you don't vote, it will affect your life and you might not get the things you need, so it's a form of death. No, I see that. That's double talk. Just like these politicians do. That's double talk. They might mean it in a symbolic way or die, but they also mean it in a literal way. Nigga, if you don't vote, we gonna kill you. Notice how all these coons, Sambos, immigrant coons, who else? Buck broken boys, bed wenches, they're all talking about how when they see black people getting on code and not voting, they're all talking about how y'all need to stop that because y'all gonna make white supremacist daddy mad. And when he turn up, y'all don't want that. Y'all better go out there and vote. So When you see vote or die t-shirts, that's literally what it's saying. It's saying vote or nigga we gonna kill you. It was some video on World Star of some immigrant black dude talking about y'all need to stop with these Black Lives Matter protests, because if you don't want these white people to turn up, because when they do, you're not ready for that. They outnumber you. I'm just gonna sit on the sideline and eat my popcorn. Man, shut your scary butt up. What Allah say in the Quran about the believers when the believers would go out to battle, and the hypocrites and little kitten boys, you know what I want to say, them little kittens would sit behind with the women, and what would they tell the believers? Y'all need to be scared of them. They got better weapons than y'all. They outnumber y'all. Y'all really gonna go out with the prophet and fight? You know how much better weapons they got? They were trying to put fear in their heart. And what did the believers answer back to them? How many times has a small group overcame a large group by the permission of Allah? And Allah says, when they said things like that to the believers, when these little punks and these little hypocrites and munafiqun tried to put fear into the heart of believers, it only increased the believers in their faith. It only increased them in their courage. It didn't make them weaker. Allah put courage into their hearts. And then when the believers came back after battle and they won the battle, then them little punk hypocrites was like, oh yeah, trying to cheer them on and say, yeah, we was on your side the whole time. And what Allah say about them hypocrites that like to stay behind and be scary? Allah say, oh, you're fine with sitting at home with the women, huh? So you see why Allah calling you. So don't nobody want to hear that, man. Don't nobody want to hear that. Whatever Allah wills is gonna happen, but you don't submit to oppression. So that's just what it is. And I want you to notice, although it's cool that these leagues are doing their symbolic stuff, notice none of them are saying black people need reparations. None of them are talking about that. None of them are talking about punishing the race soldiers and these deputized white supremacists who kill black people. None of them are talking about that. They're telling you to vote. They're sitting up here telling you that voting is the answer, which lets you know that they aren't really sincere. And so, I just want to end it there. I could keep talking, but I want to end it there. Give y'all, things to think on. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I'll get back at y'all with some more stuff that's on my mind in the future, inshallah, if Allah gives me life. May Allah protect us. May Allah keep us vigilant and on point. May Allah guide those who aren't Muslims into Islam. And thank you for listening. Until next time, assalamu alaikum and peace.